back to my channel, Pix here from 1036. Today I wanted to make a video on analyzing your battle reports. I know I've created a video before, but I think this one kind of is going to show pretty well how you can apply the spreadsheet that I've shared before. I'm going to share it again. You see it already over here with the battle reports that you have. So there are some that are really good to always save, and others, you know, not so much. But let's say you're either in Battlefield and you want to analyze your defense reports or SVS. Maybe you're a little scared of SVS, that's fine. But in Battlefield, getting defense reports can be super helpful if you are winning the defense. I think I've mentioned that before. The ones where you're winning the defense are the important ones. When you're losing a defense, most often the point exchange is not going to be in your favor anyway, so using the spreadsheet is really not going to be that helpful. So using this type of spreadsheet for your defending reports where you're winning is going to be helpful to see if the point exchange is in your favor or not, because the point exchange is not always the same as the power exchange, actually never the same, right? But when you see the power exchange and you think, oh man, this power exchange is either terrible or fantastic for you, then that doesn't mean that that you won the point exchange. So if you have any questions on this spreadsheet, I have a video already on this and kind of explained it a little more in detail with the points, where to get them, how this is applied, and so forth. But today I'm just going to show you how I would apply this and analyze my own battle report to see if my offense is doing great or not so great. So I have selected the two battle reports from a previous SVS that I think that are going to show it pretty darn well what I'm talking about. Alright, so the battle reports I'm going to be working alongside with are these. I'm only going to choose two because this is a siege attack, so a Theobald, as well as this is a siege attack, and they have very similar power exchanges. So what happened here is, if you look at the time stamp, it's 38 and then 50. So it didn't happen right after. What I did here, well, at first of course I scouted and I saw well, let's see if a siege attack is going to work in my favor or not. When I did scout, it was, you know, siege attack 1791. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do a siege. And it did, for the power exchange, work in my favor. After that, I analyzed it, looked at, did I get all the sieges, right? So if I go all the way down, they're gone here. If they're gone in the lower ranks, then the upper ranks are generally gone too. That does not always count if you only look at the T4 or the T1s, so you have to look at the ones in between as well. But they're all gone. So all the sieges were gone, and that was the first one. So I did see this was 5.4. I saw that player did heal. It's like, alright, well, I'm going to do another siege, and I'm going to follow up with an archer. So I did follow up with an archer. As you see, immediately from 1250 to 1250, it was a back-to-back. And this was an archer. And I wanted to see how my archer is doing as a solo. And yeah, he did have a bunch of troops, but I gave it a shot. And as you can see, my power exchange is not in my favor, but we will see if the point exchange is in my favor. To use this spreadsheet over here, the attacker generally is going to be the easiest one to enter. For the defender, it's going to be a little tedious, and I can speed that up for you guys. But I'll show you for the attacker. Let's do that first. That would be me. Since my march loses, I lose, you know, uh, the percent of my troops, and that is all. That is true for all of the layers. The way that it's layered, the sieges were at 10,000, and the other layers were at, I think, 2,000. So just to make it fast. Okay, so most of the layers are going to be 10,000, so I'm going to do just copy paste and throw that all in there for all the troops. The sieges. Alright, so the 11s and up are going to be different. Oh, the 10s already as well. Alright, let's just enter the 10s. Alright, I'm going to keep you with me for the attacker march, and then the siege march I'm going to speed up. Okay, so yeah, the upper layers are all the same. Okay, so this is the attacker march. And what I'm entering is only the troops that I lost, because those are the ones that are giving away points. And that's what I want to calculate. So really, I only need to look at this column over here, the ones that I'm losing. It is going to get way more complicated if you're a bubble or burn server and you have deserters and so forth, like all these different numbers, then it's just going to be way more complicated. Now for the defender, I'm going to speed that through myself, but I usually start with the T1s. Alright, so I did enter the entire defender side into my spreadsheet over here. It didn't take too long if you're on a computer. And you have a few layers that are just 0, so that makes it easier, right? And as I said, it did take all of the sieges, as well as it actually did start taking some of the archers as well here. Now let's look at the the point exchange, because we already saw the power exchange in the main report here. So 276, 324, which is 276 and 324. So this matches, right? Now for the point exchange, if we were looking at the SVS line right here, which is the third one over, so in this case it's a third one over, the attacker march is giving away 232 million points. The defender is giving away 278 million points. So that's how you have to think about it. How many points are they giving away? Because these are only the troops that are being killed. If you remember the troops that I entered, only the ones that are being killed. Those are the ones that are giving away points. So if it is 278 to 232, the difference, I actually have created a difference as well, is 46 million positive for the attacker side. And in Battlefield it would be 102. But we're only looking at SVS because this was an SVS attack. So the siege attack did win the point exchange as well as the power exchange. Now let's look at the next one. If you remember, this was time-wise really just seconds apart. That was 1250.09, and then this is 1250.10. So these were sent back to back by 1 second apart. That's how you have to be in SVS or Battlefield. You have to be super quick, speed your marches. That's the essence of it. Okay, now let's look at the archer attack. If you're looking at this, The power exchange is not in my favor. It's 567 and to 425. And looking at the defender, doesn't have any sieges anymore. So that was the whole point why I did send an Archer March right after that siege attack, because his sieges did not hurt me, and couldn't hurt me anymore. They were gone. So there are no sieges left. And now let's enter all of these into the spreadsheet. And I'm not going to take you with me. I'm just going to speed it up for you. Here it is. Everything is entered. And looking at the power is 425 to 567. 425 to 567. Now let's look at the point exchange for SVS. As the defender is giving away 411 million points, as the attacker is giving away 313 million points, and the difference is almost 100 million. And here you can see that the power exchange does not equal the point exchange in difference. So I did lose the power exchange, I did win the point exchange, and that's what matters. If you're doing a solo attack and you kind of, man, this looks bad, that doesn't mean that it is a loss. You have to look at what troops you're killing, how many troops you're killing, to kind of glance over it and see, it's like, yeah, this is a bad power exchange, or not a bad power exchange, but not in my favor, but I did kill 35 million troops, so the chance of this still being positive for me for the point exchange is pretty high. If it is a lot smaller number, like close to my number, like let's say 5.7 million were killed on my end and 5.4 million were killed on the defender end, but the point exchange, the power exchange was, let's say, similar, then this means higher tier troops would have been killed, but less of them. So just to give it a quick glance, it's like, yeah, I killed lots of his troops. The chance of it being a positive point exchange is still there. It's not always a given, though. So this spreadsheet is kind of fun to play with if you're into this, and I only use this very sporadically if I have a battle report that looks interesting, and it's like, I want to see how well I did against this type of player. Also, if you're looking at a solo attack and the buffs are, let's say, not super low, but a lot lower than this, or a lot higher than this, and see at which point your solo attack is failing the point exchange. So you can kind of, gauge that a little bit. So this spreadsheet is kind of fun for SVS. Battlefield is a lot more, lot faster paced. If you're one of those players that can be on the enemy server without any issues, like getting attacked, then this is a fun spreadsheet to work with, because you have the opportunity to do solo attacks and see how that works. If you're using this spreadsheet with a rally, that's gonna get way more complicated and might be a little tedious. So only if you have a rally that it's like, yeah, I really want to know, and you maybe do that once or twice and then not anymore. But let's say you have a rally, that's a one rally. So if you have a lost rally right here, it's 1.9, so what is it, 2.2-ish, 2.1 to 3 billion. I mean, the power exchange is clearly in our favor, and the enemy is losing 71 million, we're losing 30 million troops. So at a quick glance, you probably most likely did win the point exchange as well. But if you are interested for a lost attack to see if that is true, what you have to do is for all the attackers and their troops, you have to take them into consideration. And if you have a reinforced keep, that is even more tedious. I don't have a good spreadsheet for that, but if you were to use all of them for, let's say, I have to go down. For all the sieges, I have to add them all up. Okay, just to show you what you would have to do if you're really interested in doing that. Not really recommended, but that's here. I'm just going to show you what you got to do. So you just add all these numbers. My T1 sieges, the next T1 sieges. And the next. Oops. Alright, so this would be, so there we go. Alright, so this would be the total amount of T1 sieges that the attacker side would lose. So you have to add them all up, and you have to do that for every single layer. If they're all the same, you probably can do the copy and paste again the way that I did, and it looks like it is. Only for myself and Borg, we have different siege layers in comparison to the mounted ground and archers, but I think we can work with that too. For the attacker side, it's pretty easy to do that. If you do that once, just for out of curiosity, it kind of gives you an idea what other people are sending, how their march is set up, and so forth. But yeah, I think in this case we could do this with a copy and paste. Alright, so I actually did go through this report with where we did set the rally on one unreinforced player, and it was quite tedious. So yeah, you don't do this very often, but if you do something like that, it kind of gives you a very, very intimate experience with what other people are sending. So that was kind of eye-opening to see what siege march they're sending. So you're asking for a small siege, and then you look at what they're sending. You never really pay attention to that, but if you're using this spreadsheet, you will see what they're sending. So that was kind of interesting. My small siege march has T15, 14, 13, 12, all the same layers, and then the bulk of it is in my T11s. That is small siege. That is the essence of small siege, it being a T11 march. Then looking at others, very little T11. So where are all the sieges? So you go up, has more in the T12s. That is not recommended. T13s. Okay, maybe it's a T13 march. No, the bulk is in the T14s, and I would not recommend that, especially if you look at it. This player has pretty good siege buffs, should have a really good battle exchange, but if you look at the T14s, he's losing 2 million to 1 million, so it's a bad ratio for him for the T14s. Same with the T15s, so he has a lot of T15s in here, and if you look at the T13s, that's where the work is happening in the T13s. That's why you call a big siege march a T13 march and a small siege march a T11 march. So I guess this was more meant to be a big siege march. I'm not quite sure. This player, very thin layers, but then has some T13s, T12s, a little thicker, but the bulk is in the T11, so that is a small siege march. This player, I did notice, is like, where are all my T11s? Not a small siege march. The bulk is in the T12s. So that kind of blew me away. It's like, why are you putting all of the power in your T12? That's not where the sieges are shining. The T11s and the T13s are the best troops for marches. If you're looking at the power, the battle exchange, I guess it is. So this is a positive battle exchange, about a 1-to-2 ratio. This is about a 1-to-2 ratio as well for the T12s. So it did work out, but then the T13s are doing a better job here. T14s, they have a positive exchange, so that's good. But if you were to bulk up the T14s more, the power exchange would, or the battle exchange would decrease. And this guy has soft layers in the upper tiers. That is great. And then the bulk is in the T11. So that is a small siege march. Very nice. This player sent a big siege march. And even a bigger siege march. T14s. That's not where the sieges are shining, right? It's a 2-to-1 ratio, but not in the favor of the attacker. Then the T13s, they have a positive exchange. So I would recommend, if the people that I'm pointing out here are watching this, to maybe adjust your siege marches a little bit. So this one, well, the T12s are doing a great job, but overall I would put the majority in your T11s for a small siege, and then T13s in your big siege. I think there is such thing as an even bigger siege march out there where you're using T15s, but I think you only use it when you have T16s available, when you have something past your top tier troop. And this player has T12s, T13s, and T14s, and nothing in the T11s. So this player also needs to adjust their march. That is for sure. Alright, so this, like I said, this does give you a really intimate experience into what other people are sending, because, yeah, usually you don't really look at it. Now, the defender, we did kind of gives you an idea as well as to what troops you're killing. There were a bunch of layers that didn't get killed, but if you're starting at the bottom, since I always start at the bottom, the T1s got killed, all the T2s, the T3s, and the T4s. And then T5s, like the mid layers, they did survive. T5s all the way up to T9s for the sieges, right here, did survive. Everything else survived. And then you have surviving sieges, but you're also killing some. And the layers that you're taking out is T12 and up. T12, 13, 14. So yeah, when you're in battlefield and you skim a battle report, that is something that you're looking for. Do I need to send another siege, or are we good? So if I were to look at this in battlefield, open this up, look at the defender, 14s are gone, 13s are gone, 12s are gone. I do have some 11s left. How many do I have left? About 4.5 million. Do I need to send another siege? Yes or no? Depending on my rally power, so I have some T10s as well. Depending on my rally power, if I have a big rally team, I probably can get away with out another siege march. But if I have a smaller rally team, I probably would send another siege march to take out the T11s, 10s, and below. So yeah, so I plugged these numbers in, and let's see. Let's go back here. That was a lost attack, but that was the point exchange, 3 billion to, what was it, 2.1, 2.2, close to. And the SVS scoring is, this player gave away 1.9 billion points, and we gave away 1.4 billion points. 2.1 to 2.7. I guess I'm missing some troops somewhere, because that's 3 billion. 2.7. All right, so this is not quite even, but as we already saw from this right here, as you're skimming this, the power exchange was 1, and looking at the 71 million that were killed, you assume, or yeah, you kind of assume that the point exchange was also 1, which that is the case, because 1.4 to 1.9. And if you look at this, this is a positive score. So yeah, you might not want to do that all the time because this was pretty tedious. If you look at this number up here, I had to add them all up from all the players that joined battle. But yeah, if you do that, if you're the rally leader and you want to see how your team is doing, how your team is joining, when you ask for certain troops and your team is still fresh, I think this is maybe something to look into. It's like, are they sending what I'm asking for? What is their march setup? Is it really recommended? How well is it doing? Looking at how my marches were doing, it's 2 to 7, 2 to 4, 2 to 8, and 2 to 2.7 million. So the 12s are doing okay, but this is where things are happening. 4 million to 20 million. Let's see how this player did. And the 12s was 8 to 6. So if you're sending a proper T11 march, you're doing all the killing. So myself and this player, we killed most of the troops. So this player with the T13s killed 13.6 million troops. I killed 20.5 million troops. So that is already 33 million troops out of the 70. Where is it? Out of the 71. Him and I did most of the killing. I hope that makes sense. So it is important to send the proper march. Alright, so this has already gotten lengthy enough, but this is a fun spreadsheet to work with. I am, of course, going to share that in this video, as well as I did share it in the other video that I'm going to share the links to. Yeah, you can use this to analyze your own battle reports, either be it your defense or you're the attacker. One thing to note, if you are putting yourself as the defense and then the attacker putting themselves in as the attacker, and you're getting a negative number here, like let's say negative 495, 444, 313, if it's negative, that means you are still winning. If this is confusing down here, just look at the points that you're giving away versus the points that they're giving away. Because if this is negative, this is still your side. What you've seen so far is this has been my side. This is the enemy side. But if you're doing a defense report of your own keep, then this is your side. This is the enemy side. So it just flips around. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, hopefully this was insightful for you guys. Get to know your team by doing this if you have extra time to do so. It is fun. It is sometimes maybe a little tedious, like I said. For a rally attack or defense, it is going to be a little rough, but this is just tells you how well you do against a solo attack, or how well you're doing as a solo attack. It is a lot easier to plug those numbers in. So yeah, share with your alliance if you like. Like this video if you did, and I will see you guys in the next round.